Kids these days, our youth, they don't know how to do anything. It's just, oh, there's an app for that.
It's the concept of growth, like expanding your comfort zone, expanding your intellect, expanding, your capacity and the abilities to do things.
I mean, now with AI, I mean, you don't have to know anything. All you need to know is how to ask the right question to AI, and you're going to get your answer.
Kids these days aren't being taught what we were taught, but those things are what mold a person into a better person, into a more productive person, into, frankly, a...
Welcome to the Power of Influence. Got a really exciting episode here today. I've got Jeff Mack. Jeff and I go back like 35 years. We we grew up in this world of direct sales and the network marketing space together. We each had a prior experience, but we came together in a company. We had a mutual upline, and gosh, guys, we had the time of our life, right? I think we were there, like 12 years, Jeff, something like that. Worked together. We circled back around a while later and worked together again. But as I look back on my career now, 37 years, 38 years, some of the funnest time I ever had was with this company and working with these people like Jeff. We've been lifelong friends. We've had a lot of fun together. We've traveled all over the world. I think we'll have to talk about it, Jeff. But that first trip to Asia, to Hong Kong, we're in first class. I think we were both like the first time we're ever in first class, and go over to Hong Kong together. That was a memorable and a very fun experience. But some of those stories we won't tell. But but yeah. Guys, this is Jeff's been all over, as a top 7-figure, earner in the industry. He, has owned a company. He's been top executives. He's been consulting. So he's been in and around the space of network marketing for, it's probably same as me, like 38 years, 37 years, something like that. Yeah, but we've known each other 35 years, and just, one of those, true, honest, hardworking, in the trenches, top leader in the industry. And so, like we said, we've had a lot of fun. So Jeff, welcome to our show here today, and just excited about, catching up and talking about what you all got going on, talking a little bit about the past and everything that we've done together. But welcome.
Hey, John, thanks. It's great to be here. I'm excited about this as well. And as you were kind of doing this intro, I had flashbacks to a lot of those memories. And boy, there's some really good times in my life.
Yeah, I tell you, even those, the fishing trips that we took, and some of those experiences. Our upline, a guy by the name of Todd Smith, and just another, absolute, incredible mentor and individual in this industry and this space, because in this, I think it's true in any business or any type of industry. There are good players, and there are, okay players, and there's bad players, right? And, not just Jeff, a handful of other people that we worked with, but Todd Smith, our mutual upline, just a rock solid, individual, somebody that, when he tells you he's going to do something, he's going to do it, and you can count on him. Right, which I find is rarer and rarer, but he would, because he was our mutual upline, and so that kind of brought us all together. But we would go on these fishing trips, to Alaska and to the tundra. Gosh, I remember that one trip to Alaska, and I think it was, you guys were all laughing your head off. I had we're fishing in the Kenai, or that Brooks Falls, where the grizzly bears were all over the place, and we could overlook, these bears with literally like a postcard. They would, wallow in the river and come up with a salmon in their mouth, and then they'd waddle over to the side and plunk down and rip this salmon and eat this salmon. But I'm fishing in this where they're swimming through, and I hook one, and all of a sudden a bear starts chasing the end of my line, which you're supposed to break it, and they're videoing it. I don't know if Todd has that footage, or Eddie, or who has that footage, but you guys are laughing, and I'm trying to run and break my line so this bear doesn't take that salmon. Or
I think unfortunately nobody got that on video, but I got it etched in my brain, and it was glorious. I wish we had it on video for sure.
Oh man, that was some of the funnest times, though. I mean, that's one of the things I think so many people in life, right? When they're in their traditional, life or 9 to 5, I mean, before I got involved in direct sales, I don't think I had ever been on a plane. Once I was on a plane. But my world was like a 200-mile radius where I grew up, and networking just opened up a world that I didn't know existed. It created an environment where we could be around positive, like-minded people that are going to lift you up versus, because misery loves company, right? When you're in that situation, many times in the 9 to 5, not that they're not good people, right? Hardworking people, but they don't really they don't know because they haven't been exposed, and we get thrown into this networking space, and I mean, some of the sharpest people I've ever met, come out of that networking space, and so it's been life changing for me and so many others. But Jeff, kind of back up a little bit, to your you went to college, right? You went to college, and what was your upbringing, your childhood, right? And then kind of give me that journey up to network marketing.
I was very blessed to have a great childhood. I'm the youngest of 5 kids, kind of the grandson of Lebanese immigrants, and so my great grandfather came here actually in 1903. My grandfather in 1912. They started a business, and sort of family of entrepreneurs. So hard work was ingrained in my DNA. I mean, at 11 years old, I was sweeping the storefront at the clothing store, which was handed down through the generations to my dad. Worked there every summer until I decided I wanted to go into construction, and so then I did a construction job during the summer. But hard work was ingrained in my DNA, and so my parents sent me to college. I went off into North Carolina State University, got an engineering degree, and I had these grandiose plans. And then I got out and got in the building business. And I realized that was in the late 80s. I'm dating myself, but that was in the late 80s. And the economy at that time was in absolute tank. And so, I'd worked for 3 employees over the course of about 18 months. They kept going out of business, developers going out of business, et cetera. And so I kind of wondered, okay, what's my career like? And a friend of mine that I went to school with, who was actually in the building business himself, he went to university together. He gave me a videotape, and it was a new skin video, the Clifton Brothers. I don't know if you ever saw that video, but it opened my eyes. It was the first time that anyone, like when I was working construction in Raleigh, my superior, the guy I reported to, invited me over to his house for a dinner party. I was like, great, not making much money. I'll go get a free dinner. And it wasn't really a dinner party. It was SpaghettiOs and a chalkboard. And it was an Amway meeting. That was my first introduction to network marketing. And I walked out of there going, holy hell, not only is this no, but it's a hell no. And I don't ever want to hear about this again. So when I saw this video from somebody that I knew, a friend, it was the first time that the network marketing industry was explained to me in business terms, in terms that were realistic, not flowery, and it made sense. And from that moment on, John, I was like, holy hell, you mean that I could make money while I sleep? And I saw the power of sort of two-dimensional franchising, right? Like making more of me out there working. And that's really what captured my imagination. And so I jumped in. I jumped in so hard. I'm not really proud of this, but I jumped in so hard that while I was working at my construction job, I was a project manager. I was also making phone calls to get people to, watch a video and follow up on the videos and get people to opportunity meetings, et cetera. And so I tell people that I went full time about 4 months in. Actually, what happened is I got fired, and I didn't look back. And so that was my first kind of look. It caught me at the right time by a person that I knew, so I could accept the information, if you will, and it just was kind of magical. And I went to my first event about 4 months after I joined, and there was 9,000 people in the Salt Palace in Salt Lake City, and from that moment on, I was ruined. I was just couldn't do anything else.
Yeah. So was Todd actually? Because I know Todd was a part of New Skin. That's where he got his start as well. Was he your upline then? Is that how you guys connected?
No, he was not my upline, but he was he was Bigfoot, meaning the legend of Todd Smith, the guy that became Blue Diamond in 35 days. Okay, permeated the company because we came in about the same time, but we were totally different organizations. But I'd hear about this Todd Smith guy, okay, and then he put out a training program that I bought. And so yeah, so I knew who Todd was. Todd didn't know who I was at that time.
And so did you guys kind of before that dissolved, or you ended up leaving there? You forged that. You guys ended up having a relationship, and so
No, actually, never met Todd in New Skin. Uh, there was another guy with a very unique voice who had one of the best selling, again, dating myself, audio cassette tapes, which is what we used at the time to hand out. Randy Schrader, correct? Yeah, and Randy, Randy got a very unique voice, and so I had heard that Randy left the company, left New Skin. I was like, oh my God, what's going on? I got to find out. So I knew from the tapes that he lived in San Diego. So there were 4 Randy Schraders in the San Diego area. So I called them all. And the last one was, I heard the voice, the machine, that's when they had machines with beeps. Yeah, I was like, there's no question that's the Randy. And so I left a message. Randy called me back. And then, and so we joined that company, Rexall Showcase at the time. And then I found out like a week later that Todd Smith was joining, and Randy was on the West Coast, Todd was on the East Coast. So I asked Randy, I said, if you're sponsoring Todd, I said, why don't you let me go under Todd? And then that way we can all work together. He's on the East Coast, blah, blah. So it was kind of history. Randy said yes. And as you know, between ourselves, Randy Todd, Stuart Hughes, who's now the owner of that company. We made just with that company a lot of money between us. Let's just say that.
yeah, you think about just that little decision. Of you asking Randy to be put under Todd, and just the synergy that was created there, and really the lifelong relationships. But as you're going through that story, because mine is very similar as well, because I think most people end up just either they know nothing about networking, or they have a preconceived notion that they don't want to do anything with networking. And so my experience, what year was that? I got involved in December of 8.
When I joined was 1990. When we moved over to Rexall, it was 91.
Okay, so you were only there for 1 year.
Right, 14 months, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, so I got started in 88. I'm a working maintenance, with my learning disability, very introverted, everything. A friend of mine invited me to look at a water filter. Some guys from Minneapolis, about small town, 3.5 hours outside of Minneapolis. And, I thought they wanted me, it was a water filter, something to do with a water filter. I thought they wanted me to build a display, or, maybe check, certainly not talk to someone. Or, sales was not something I would ever even entertain, right? And so I think about it, though. There was a breakdown at the factory that night. I was maintenance manager. I had to stay late. So I did not want to go to this what I guess we know now as a home meeting. But I made the commitment. So I went, and, I go right from work, smelling like a potato chip in my uniform, and, steel-toed boots and a hairnet. I had hair back then, but, 5 of us there that night. And all 5 of us got excited. I got so excited, I bought 4 of these filters on the spot, wrote a check out for, $480. They're $120 a piece. I brought him home. I'm living in a trailer house to, at that time, was my fiance. And she's like, "What did you do?" And I'm like, "Don't worry, they're going to hold the check till Friday. It'll be fine. Wait till you see what these things do." And at that time, I didn't want anybody else to, because they're like, you need to get, other people involved. And I'm like, why do I want to create my own competition? I saw a filter that everybody needed, and I didn't want anybody else selling them, right? And so I started out trying to do it, but it's just interesting because most people, and you think of the top leaders, we're now, it's hard to imagine, we're now the elderly, right? We're the old leadership they talk about, right? But a lot of us got our start in that new skin and the NSA, and then took what we knew there and applied it, right? Because the first company, when I was involved, I was there for 4 years, and I did well, but I didn't know anything. And you're kind of, you believe and you're excited, but in the same notion, you're fragile. The least little bit of negativity can take the wind out of your sails. And so, had that experience a few times. Then when I went into Rexall, I came into it with a belief, right, of the concept that network marketing really worked, and just that I needed something with better timing and consumable products and stuff. But it's an experience that I think everybody would benefit from. I mean, you hear about people that talk about networking negative, even if you didn't make money. I believe any participation, that person grew, right, as a person. I mean, I just believe the life-changing power of what we do here in the networking space, even though a lot has changed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've seen people, come in and grow to the point, like myself and a few others, start our own networking companies. We've seen people go into other industries, real estate and others, that have done incredibly well. I just think that a couple things, it's the concept of growth, like expanding your comfort zone, expanding your intellect, expanding, your capacity and the abilities to do things, work ethic, and imagination, having a positive outlook, all those three things. And this is one thing, John, that I think, unfortunately, I got an 11-year-old daughter. I see kids, your kids are up and out. But kids these days aren't being taught what we were taught. And I hate to sound like, one of the, old, Muppet guys in the balcony. But it's really, really true. And so it's, when kids get on these screens, okay, their bodies atrophy, their minds atrophy, because they don't have to develop their imagination, and the concept of work ethic just seems like it's completely passe now. And so, but those things are what mold a person into a better person, into a more productive person, into, frankly, a leader. And leadership, as you know, John, is uh, is everything. Every successful organization, or whether it's business or otherwise, has a strong leader who's grown themselves. And that's key. And I fear for our future that we're not developing leaders like we once did.
It's funny. I was doing a podcast with someone last night, and we were talking about this exact same thing. Kids these days, our youth, they don't know how to do anything. It's just, oh, there's an app for that. I mean, we were, I was with this person, we were driving, and we even were talking about, I can't imagine, and I was there, but I wasn't in a big city, but I can't imagine how to move around and get places without GPS, right? I mean, the tools and even like when we went to high school, I mean, we thought we were cheating when we had little hand calculators. I mean, now with AI, I mean, you don't have to know anything. All you need to know is how to ask the right question to AI, and you're going to get your answer.
Exactly. I mean, everything is so spoon fed now, but the ability to think critically and solve problems is so essential to being successful in life.
Yeah, and you think about it too. What would happen if the internet goes down, or these apps that we depend on stop working, or something happens? I mean, literally, these people are paralyzed. They don't know what to do. I mean, But to your point about networking and the skills that it develops, and one of the other things I'm thinking about as you're sharing that story is the association, right? The association, the proximity of being around like-minded, positive people. That old saying, hang around five broke people and you're going to be the sixth, right? Moving from my situation, good quality people working in the factory, going to play softball or going to happy hour afterwards, to moving into an environment where everybody is goal oriented and driven and trying to grow personally. It just throws us into a completely, for me anyway, a world I didn't know existed. And I mean, turning your car into even my kids, you talk about proximity. They quote Jim Rohn just like I do, because anything comes up, like Jim Rohn, I wouldn't spend a lot of time on it. Why, all these different things, these quotes that are so impactful so anyway, it's phenomenal. So when you talk about influence, I know Todd, for instance, had a major influence, I'm sure, on your life as he had on mine, right? A really positive influence. But when you think about, in Randy also, Randy had a really, positive influence on me. He was a character, but incredibly talented person. But who would you think, as you think back over your, early career, really had an impact, an influence on you?
Because you and I spent, what, 12, 14 years in the same company together. A lot of those people are going to be the same, obviously. The Todd Smith really stands out because Todd was a combination of professor, drill sergeant, mentor, and coach. And kind of also sort of older brother. And he understood the power of relationships, and not only the relationships between he and me, or him and I, or he and us, but also the relationships between his core team and each other, and also the relationships between us and our people. I remember once, and I wasn't making much money yet, and we went and took some of my key people out to dinner, and under the table, okay, who would do this? Under the table, Todd hands me his credit card for me to pay the bill, so it looks like I'm paying the bill so that I get the credit to do that. Who do you know would do that? Almost nobody, right? And that made an impression on me, John. And I tried to pay it forward, down the road as I became successful and with folks on my teams, et cetera. But Todd probably was number one, in terms of, from a business point of view. Obviously, my father and older brothers, et cetera. One of my older brothers, actually, Ron. When I was a couple years out of school, this is before I got introduced to network marketing, I was just kind of floundering around, living for the weekend, that kind of thing. And he drove up, 3 hours to have lunch with me. And it started out being a friendly lunch, and basically his whole reason was to come up there and tell me to get my shit together, that I was wasting my lives. And that conversation, again, just like Todd with the credit card, made a pivotal impact on my life. And one of the things that again, I think is very sad that we don't have today is healthy debate, right? And you can't express a dissenting opinion. Now, when I was 12, okay, I knew everything about everything, right? In my own mind, right? I don't see a lot of tough love being handed down anymore, and tough love is tough, but it's love nonetheless. And that kind of, the courage to do that, right? If it lands and makes an impact on the other side of that, the person receiving that tough love appreciates it my high school basketball coach, same kind of thing, right? The adults and the people in your life that praise you when you're doing well, but they correct you when you're not doing well, and they tell you to get your shit together when you need it the most. Those things, those people are the ones that made such a lasting impact on my life.
So let me ask you on that point, because our generation, when you look at our parents, right? I mean, they had it a lot tougher than we did, and I mean, I think that they, at least in my dad, was very strong, and you didn't cross them, right? I mean, it was the law, right? And then I much more lenient with my kids, right? And probably to the fault. But I think about, when you were talking about that, I think about that saying where they talk about just good times. They say good times create weak people. Weak people create tough times. Tough times create strong people. Strong people create good times, right? And that evolution that kind of takes place. And so I think that dynamic kind of, because our parents created tough people. I mean, we came out, like you said, with the work ethic, with the discipline, with not thinking the world is going to be handed to us and that we deserve something, but we had to go earn something, right? I mean, I think the whole mentality of that, and I think that's kind of where a lot of this youth is today, as they're in this. We've created such good times that we've created a lot of weak people. Not that they're not good and strong, or good and smart people, but again, a lot of those skills that build that character have slipped away, and I'm not sure how that's going to come back, but I would think at some point it has to circle back around.
Yeah, I agree. I think to an extent, as a country, even we've kind of become a victim of our own success. Uh, but I do think that things come back around, and like you're seeing, the kids today where their parents, I'll put myself in that category, used to really, really drink and have a good time. And kids today, they're not drinking anymore. So I think it skips a generation or two, and it comes back around. I hope and pray that that's the case. Same way with, again, not to get too spiritual here, but the same way with Christianity, you're seeing that kind of on the rise again when it was, kind of on the decline, as I was growing up, et cetera. And so I really, one of the things, John, that you learn to do as you mature, get gray hair, et cetera, is that you learn to have faith. And I think that God, I still believe that God's in control. And I believe that everything happens for a reason, and it's all part of a master plan, and we won't know it until way back. I look at things that happened in my life, years ago, and they're crystal clear as to why they happen now. Although at the time, I had no idea, and it was the worst thing in the world. And now I look at them as being very foundational to the person that I've become today. So,
Yeah, well, I think that's also because I agree with you. I think things happen for us, not to us, right? And so everything happens for a reason. But at the same notion, it's also the decision you make about that, right? Because you put another person in that same circumstance that you were in, where you thought the world was falling apart, and how did this happen, and whatever it might be. But the decision you made led you through that, where another person maybe makes a decision and they crawl into the fetal position and give up, right? And so again, it tests us, but we grow, and I mean, life and people, and just the whole psychology of people. I mean, I swear we get a degree in psychology, master's degree in psychology in this business, just working with so many.
yeah, totally. And that's why, I mean, I know you're a trader. Fibonacci, that's all based on human behavior. Thousands of years of human behavior, and human behavior just doesn't change.
Yeah, even knowing I'm a trader, I did not realize that Fibonacci was based on. Man, I understand as you say it, absolutely, because it's mapping out these levels where the humans are going to react, right? And but yeah, that makes total sense.
So once you understand, you know, the human condition, you then become a student to some degree of history. Not that you have to know, 18th century Russian history, okay, or anything like that, but just the history of people and civilizations. You look at the rise and fall of the Roman Empire, you're seeing very much the same kind of things sort of play out in our lives today. It's fascinating. And if you want to see where things are going in the future, I'm not a I'm not a proponent of dwelling on the past, but learning and studying the past can give you pretty good insight as to where things are headed.
Well, because when I went to high school, I was not I tried to be invisible, right? I'm not one to, because of my learning disability and reading, I just tried to be invisible. But I wasn't like, getting the grades or whatever. I mean, I was just kind of, floating through the thing. But I remember thinking, why history? I mean, this is ridiculous. Why are we studying this stuff? And I mean, even geography, all of that kind of stuff. As I look back now, and the real application, and I don't even know if that kind of stuff is being taught anymore, because I went to a new school in my hometown just to tour. They built a brand new. I didn't recognize even what the heck the classes were. I mean, it was, I don't know what was going on there, but the point is, all of those things, like you talk about history repeating itself, there's so much I wish I would have paid attention to, but I don't think that I would have even been exposed to understand that as much as I do today if I wouldn't have been involved in the networking space, right? I mean, I even remember back when we that trip to Hong Kong, and I mean, before I've heard of Hong Kong, I wouldn't even be able to tell you where it was on the map, right? And then when it opened up, I could care less. And then all of a sudden, I'm making money out of Hong Kong without knowing anything about it, because I, had people that knew people there. And through our business model, you're getting paid, and it's like, okay, I need to figure out where Hong Kong is, right? But yeah, amazing. So when you think back, over your career, I mean, literally with all the different experiences and the stories that we had, we could talk for hours and never run out of things to talk about. But what would you what would you think of major lessons, right, that you learned? Some of which maybe you learned the hard way, right? I mean, sometimes that's what has to happen, is we have to learn lessons the hard way. And then there's lessons that we learned and we were able to catch it right away and capitalize on it. But or even from a standpoint of someone watching this that is, young and trying to, rise up, what advice based off of your past experiences that you had?
Well, guys, there's a lot of things that I learned, but the biggest thing I think, is never stop learning. And you bring into a situation your biases, your baggage, people call it, right? And the fact is, if you're going into a new environment, if you're joining a network marketing company, let's just say that, okay? If you knew everything about everything, you wouldn't be in a situation where you had to look for another opportunity. So let's just start there. Okay. So you have to start with your philosophy. Okay. How do I think differently? Okay. What do I do? Mirror and model people that are successful at doing what I'm getting ready to do. Learn from them. We're not Superman, right? We don't know everything about everything like I thought I did when I was 12. So learn how to think differently, read some books. Biggest lesson I learned is that if you're not growing, you're dying. And that relates to your mind, it relates to your body, and it relates to your business. And so when your business stops growing, right, then you've got to ask yourself some hard questions. Did I stop doing something different? And in most cases in network marketing, that thing is We stopped being in build mode and started being in management mode. We stopped pursuing our goals and thought we already arrived. And those things just tend to, you don't notice them until 6 months down the road when things start to grind to a halt. But if you keep your mind focused on pushing that flywheel, and it's okay to take some time off, but it's not okay to think you've already arrived, because the old saying, right? When you're green, you'll grow. When you're ripe, you're rot, right? And so it's all about growth, personal growth, physical growth, mental growth, and business growth.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way I would never be where I am today in life had I not taken the personal development thing serious. I mean, we know in our business, relationships are important, people by people, all that kind of thing. But no one, I remember hearing Todd from stage one time say something that I still remember today, is he said, wouldn't it be a shame for your business to grow and you didn't? Right. And because if you can hit times in our industry, and really, and I'm sure in any industry, where all the stars align, you really don't know what you're doing, and you don't even need to know. All you need to do is apply the pressure, and you're going to get kind of swept up in it. But nothing, that never lasts, right? There's always going to be, if you come into a company or whatever it might be, it doesn't even have to be networking, whatever, and you can catch that major, because when the tide rises, right, all boats rise. And so if you're in the water, you're going to be lifted up with it. But all of a sudden the tide starts to go back out. And if you didn't do the growth, if you didn't do the work, if you didn't build the relationships, you're gonna drop with that tide just as fast, where the others just find new ground. They find stable ground to plateau and then regrow from.
Yep. And the other thing, John, is along those lines, the law of the lid, right? And if you keep a lid on people, or you keep a lid on yourself, it's a recipe for disaster. And so you've got to help your people grow. You got to continue to grow and keep and expand horizons and create that environment for others.
I'm interested to see what you think about this, because you find people, especially when somebody has success who's never had success, and maybe their ego, or they start reading their own press releases, right? And they think they're all that, and then they can get their head handed to them, right? But to the point of that, the law of the lid, right, is yes, for us personally, but I also find leaders sometimes, right, that are having all the success, but they can't handle other people, especially if they're down the line of them, having greater success. It's like they want to, they want to control. I want you to do good, just I don't want you to do better, right? Because then that's going to, where in my philosophy is I want to find the best people possible and let them do it. And I'm just going to be there to support them wherever they need it. Instead, I don't need to be the person that, gets the kudos, are responsible for that. I just need to bring somebody that wants to do that.
And that's evolution. Most people in philosophy, most people, and I'm guilty of this. Okay. I got a little taste of the stage. I loved it. And it was all about me. And, if you don't let people shine, like now I know, like then, that was the beginning, frankly, of a period, a very great but painful learning period in my life. And now I realize, and it's so much more mature to let people go take the stage. Like I'd rather my people be up there now and me just be sitting in the back and watching and enjoying the growth. It's like raising kids, right? You don't want your kids to depend on you the whole life. You got to teach them the skills so that when they're up and out, they thrive and they do well. And then hopefully they'll take care of you later in life. But it's the same way in this business. If you don't let others shine, they're going to go turn their light on somewhere else. That's just the way it is. And not only are you hurting them, but you're hurting yourself. And as you evolve in that thinking. And some people maybe innately have that, but most don't. And as you evolve into that sort of thinking, that's when you really enjoy the true rewards of this business, is being able to have that walk away income, like completely duplicate yourself.
Yeah, and I think, to your point of like most people, I think you're right. I think most people have to learn that lesson, and then just some of those never learn it, right? And they just keep trying to make it. But those of us that learn that lesson, where it's not all about us anymore. It's about letting someone shine. You don't want to. You can't, like you said, if you try to hold somebody back for your own comfort, or then it's going to, or your own control, like you said, they're gonna go somewhere else, right?
It is painful, but it's one that you learn one way or the other. You already know it innately, or you learn it the hard way. John, this has been a fun discussion. I have to say that unfortunately, I've got a client Zoom here at noon that I think I'm probably a little bit late for now. But I want us to do this again a couple times, selfishly, because it's been, I mean, like the time has passed like that. You and I have got so much chemistry from the past. I hope we get a chance to do this again, because this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, we're actually 40 minutes, so we're right at that time anyway, where I try to. So the perfect timing. We'll let you go, but we'll definitely do this again. I think we've got so much, to talk about with all the years and the things that we've done and learned together. And so appreciate your time very much. And I know people are going to find what we did here very, very valuable and impactful.
Well, if they don't, I certainly enjoyed it. So, John, thanks so much, my friend. I look forward to seeing your continued success, and look forward to our next time to do this together.
Absolutely. You as well. Thank you.
Take care, brother. Yeah, bye bye.